Welcome back to Rounding the Bases Extra Innings. Joel Goldberg, Erin Christensen from the KC Tech Council. There are a bunch of directions I could go here with my four final questions. I think I'll start more serious, and let's talk a little bit about Apprenta KC and what that program has been, because that seems really cool to me.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, the Tech Council, decided to make more of an investment in our workforce initiatives. And by doing so, it was, based off of just workforce data that we were receiving and, what we were understanding as trends that were going to be coming down the pipeline. We needed to be able to support our companies in a different way when it came to workforce solutions. And one of those ways was that we decided to invest in was through an apprenticeship program. And our goal, it's still was to help not only expand the tech talent pipeline, but also diversify it and, strategically partnering with organizations in Kansas City that work with what we would consider underrepresented groups in tech. So that's women, racial minorities, and even veterans. And how can we get them pivot a career into tech? So on average, the average age is about, in the early 30s. So these are people who have already had a career and they were exposed to tech and are wanting to pivot into tech. And we work with our membership to understand what their needs are and how we can help support their needs through this apprenticeship program. So that's a very a 30,000 foot overview of it. It's been successful. It's continuing to grow. But it's definitely a needed in addition to other kind of similar programs in Kansas City. All of these, definitely play a significant role in helping solve some of these workforce issues that we have.
So that's really good stuff. The second question is we round the bases, and one of my favorite things to do on these four bonus questions is to find something unique or interesting. And so award-winning gingerbread house builder. I don't need any other setup. You tell me.
Right. So, this is from high school, so I got to give you that. But there was a really competitive class that you could take at my high school, and you could only take it your senior year. It was called World Foods. And one of the things that you got to do for your final project, your first semester, was these massive gingerbread houses. And so if you can imagine, there were probably between all of the different sections, 60 kids who were building these gingerbread houses, but they couldn't just be, what you typically think of as a gingerbread house. So one year, my buddy, he did the Detroit, and I'm terrible at hockey, but the NHL, he's from Detroit originally. Anyway, so he did that stadium. And then the year before me, that senior, she did the Coliseum. And so I did, it was fairly simple, but the detail, I will say, was really on point. And so I did a schoolhouse, and it was incredible. The teacher was great, but kids would stay after as long as they could after school to create their gingerbread houses. And that was, And so I won,
that's cool.
My year. Yeah. So that's my little claim to fame. So yeah.
All right. Well, your buddy would have built Joe Louis Arena is what he would have built, which does not exist anymore. But based on the time period, that was, I think it was knocked down. They have a new arena in Detroit because that's right down the street from where the Royals play baseball. So I've seen it. I actually covered some games in Joe Louis Arena, never the gingerbread version of it. So that's fun. And and you get to say to your daughter at some point, mom built this killer.
Well, there are pictures of it. And so every year we do, we just get the gingerbread kits, from Target or the grocery store. Yeah. But I told her when she's older, we need to do it the legitimate way where we bake everything ourselves, we make everything ourselves. And anyway, so when she's a little older, we'll do that.
Yeah. A lot of fun. Okay. Third question. We've talked so much about actually your daughter's generation and the younger kids that are coming up to. Actually, I think your daughter's age is a great example. My kids are 20 and 17, and they'll pick up on this quickly, but there'll be a differentiating line. Artificial intelligence right now, which will come into play with everything that we're doing. That doesn't have to be tech industry, of course, either. But I think she'll probably never really know it's almost like the internet really came about and became prominent. Well, I'm really dating myself here, but my senior year of college, we got email, and you could use it if you went to the college library. Was the only way to do it. So that gives you an idea of how much, obviously, things have changed. But she may not remember too much of a pre-artificial intelligence world. How much is that changing the equation with everything that you're seeing out there, or is it too early to say?
For me personally, I feel like AI has really become, and we talk about this a lot in our office even, it's really kind of become the forefront in terms of like the general consumer's mind, like through ChatGPT and other, platforms. For me, I think it's too early to tell, how this will just overall impact. What is interesting though, just from working in higher education, how, educators are handling this from just an original thought or plagiarism, standpoint. I mean, Joel, you're a parent, so but all advances in technology, I think, can be scary for parents as well. And so for me, it's like, what I think, kind of in full transparency, I think what kind of scares me a little bit is, how can we, support or help our daughter and other kids understand, really what's reality and what isn't. And I think we're already kind of seeing that on social media through just like overall photo editing and what people are choosing to put out there versus what their real life actually is. So I think it's too soon to tell, but it's definitely something that we continue to talk about, at least in the office. We have some really awesome sponsors of the Tech Council who are doing some interesting work when it comes to ethical AI and how companies can have what they're doing to support clients when it comes to AI usage as well. And it's an evolving conversation. We had an event actually about it back in April, and we're looking at kind of having a 2.0 follow-up event because it was so engaging. But no, that's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like it should be a question that I ask anybody that comes on this podcast, no matter who they are, because I think there'll be different levels of understanding it and how. But we're opening up a Pandora's box, and that's the scary part to me is. In part, and this is what I'll say to my kids or have said, is that you still have to be able to think for yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of people won't.
Right.
And so there's a lane to create here to be better than everyone else by not forgetting how to think for yourself. And then that doesn't mean don't embrace artificial intelligence. It means don't make it the only thing. That's my spiel on it.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah.
Okay. Final question to walk off. One of my favorite topics is leadership. And I know that you have had the experience, I'm sure an incredible one, of being involved in Centurions. And I'm just curious how that has helped mold you sort of in this next phase of where you're at now.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely the most impactful or best experience I could have invested in for myself. I'm on my second year. I'm about to graduate in a month and a half from Centurions. And it's, the people you meet are people who I don't know how our paths would have crossed otherwise, through the work that we do, or, personally, we might live in just different geographical areas of the city. And it's, but we're incredibly close. And I think we're close because we all have this shared understanding and drive to become better leaders or individuals, but also make Kansas City a better place as well. Like, how can we continue making Kansas City as good as it can be? And I think just a shared understanding of how we can serve our community as well. So it's been, I would say, the most impactful experience that I've had, the best investment I could have made in myself personally and professionally. I've learned a lot. And, I think diversity comes in many different forms. One of the things that I have appreciated is, being challenged in the way I think about things. And, maybe I changed my mind, but maybe I don't, but, having, that constructive dialogue and, better understanding where someone else is coming from, through, our different task force days that we do has been impactful on me as well. So I can't brag about it enough. It's been one of the best, things or experiences I could have done. So
everybody that I know that has been through it says the same thing. So congrats on that.
Thank
it's
you.
A big deal. And congrats in advance on the graduation. I want to encourage everybody, two things. One, check out the KC Tech Council's website, kctechcouncil.com. And if you have not listened yet and you stumbled upon us here on YouTube, go check out my audio interview with Erin on Rounding the Bases, where all the podcasts that I have are, whatever platform you use. Erin, thanks again for spending all the time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Joel.